Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest hero of my life is now fading away. And I think it's important for us to take a look at this man's life and more importantly, his teaching and how he inspired my life. For I've mirrored after this man in many aspects of my life. And let's watch on, shall we? So, of course, the person is Warren Buffett, and the Oracle of Omaha has just given his final newsletter, and he just basically tell everybody that this will be his last one, and he's going to go quiet. He says that this is basically his final swan song. He's 95 years old, and he has greatly inspired many people across the world, including mine. And I think that his final newsletter to his shareholders have actually many wisdom. And I want to give you one very important number that everybody needs to take note of later in my video, because that will help you decide how powerful your wealth will accumulate to. So Warren Buffett wealth wasn't built overnight. It was compounded relentlessly over 63 years. So he started very young. He invested very young, and around I think 10 years old or something like that. He buy first stock, and later he continued to compound. And by the time he reached 32 years old, he has his first million. Now, of course, that is 1962. Those days, $1 million is worth a lot. And then he became billionaire when he hit 1986. And then when he hit 2010, he was almost $50 billion in net worth. Now he's worth $130 billion, and he's donating $51 billion away. So interestingly, 99% of his fortune come after 60 years old. So for people who think that I'm too old to learn about investing. I'm too old to invest and things like that. Well, part of his wealth is made after 60 years old. This is the magic number that I want to give everybody, which is 18.6%. Now, his compound annual growth rate year on year was 16.6% when you average over his entire 60 years of investing. Now, of course, some of y'all say that, wow, that 18.6% is a very high, which it is. But I think more importantly, there's a lot more people that look down on this 18.6% because a lot of people like to dabble with crypto and want to become very rich very fast. A lot of people want to invest in something phenomenal, can grow to 20 something, 30 something percent. I see this quite a lot. A lot of people tell me that I can grow 50% a year, I can grow 30% a year, 40% a year. And I just call it bullshit. Yeah, just bullshit. If you really can hit those kind of numbers, you are better than Warren Buffett. I don't think so. Okay. I don't think so. There are very few, not saying don't exist, very few people that can beat these kind of numbers. I can't. Okay. In fact, I'm very low below that, right? I think my S&P portfolio probably hit 15. That's the max. That's probably my equity portfolio, but not all my wealth is in equities, right? There's a large part of it is in CPF, which maximum only grow by 4%, and some part of it in money market funds and T-bills and fixed D. So when you blend them all together, the number is much lower than 15%. So to be able to have achieved an 18.6% blended across his entire portfolio, that's amazing, right? That's amazing, okay? And so therefore, everybody don't get too greedy. A 10% is already very amazing. 18% will make you, will make you guru status like Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett inspired me a lot in the choice of my house. And he's a billionaire. He stay in quite a humble house in Omaha. He bought in 1958 for $31,000. Today is worth about $1 million. Very, very humble for his wealth, and he's a very simple house. He stayed there for 67 years, and he's very happy. He's warm during winter, cool during summer, and I think it's really pretty amazing that a man of such wealth would stay in the house so simple. And that inspired me a lot that, I think it's okay to stay in simple house and let the rest of the wealth compound. And I choose to stay in HDB. I still stay in HDB. Yes, in Malaysia, I do have a bigger house. But in Singapore, I stay in HDB because I think the wealth being put aside for compounding actually yields a better return. And the last note about a house is that it is not the the house that makes a house nice. It is the people in the house that makes the house warm and nice. So I think I spend more time building the warm in house than building the house itself. So interestingly, the car he drives is also a very simple car. He drove a very old car for until a very long time, and he doesn't have a driver. He drives himself. Now I don't know at 95 years old, does he still drive? But up to 80 plus years old, he drives his own car. He has a 2015 Cadillac. Cadillac in US, probably a Toyota equivalent, okay? And after much nagging from his daughter, I think then he upgraded. I don't know what his upgraded car is. Every morning he go and eat McDonald's, and if the night performance is bad, the yesterday performance bad, he will buy a simple $2.61 hamburger, and then if he does well, you add the cheese on it, and spend a bit more. But he's pretty very simple. And interestingly, he never drinks water. He drinks a lot of Coke, and I quite surprised that that didn't kill him. And he's of course a big investor in Coca-Cola. My point to you is that he lives a very simple life. Now, I cannot even say I live a simple life. I do have a comfortable uh, meals that I chase after, and some of them cost definitely more than what he eats. And I have a pretty nice car. I drive a Honda Diesel. Now I'm trying to think of my next car, which is supposed to make a decision in about one month or so. But I'm pretty inspired by him. I choose to live a life like him in this aspect. This is interesting. Now, a man of his stature, you would imagine that his office would be one giant building or couple of buildings whatsoever. No, if you watch his video, his office is really small. Yeah, one floor in a place in Omaha. Very simple office, almost like simple law firm, simple accounting firm, 25 people only. Berkshire Hathaway that owns a huge empire. The headquarters only have 25 staff. And he doesn't have a computer and a simple phone. And that has been unchanged for decades. And I can't even say that I suspect that my own office is probably more elaborate than his office. Okay, so I just want to say that he's really inspiring in terms of simplicity and frugality. As rich as he is, he gave a hell of money away, right? He gave $51 billion away, and he has four family foundations: Susan Thompson, Sherwood Foundation, Howard Buffett, and Novo. His children all runs the foundations for him, and he would spend his whole life accumulating wealth, and then he said very specifically he's not good in giving away wealth, so he passed it to his children and to Bill Gates to manage those wealth to be given away. Now, some of the interesting phrases he says in his newsletter, his final newsletter, I thought has a lot of inspiration for me. He says this, right? He says that don't beat yourself up for your past mistakes. I thought that was quite an interesting inspiration for us to learn from mistakes. Basically, he says that if you live long enough, those mistakes doesn't really matter, which I thought was quite inspiring. And I think this is a big reminder for me. I made so many mistakes in life, so many errors, missed so many opportunities, say stupid things, do stupid things, almost get myself killed, almost get people, into trouble or something like that. I think, after looking back, anyway, life's not about beating yourself up. He actually emphasized this, which I think is very important. Choose your hero wisely. And clearly, he has chose two heroes. Number one is Benjamin Graham, his Sifu from Chicago University. And the famous phrase, be fearful when other people are greedy and be greedy when other people are fearful, came from Benjamin Graham, not from him. And Benjamin Graham was the person who wrote the Intelligent Investor, which I think now has gone into millions of copies and read by most financial enthusiasts. The other person is Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger was an amazing right-hand man of his that I also highly inspired by him as well. And I think he really modeled himself after the two person. And I think these are important heroes. I consider Warren Buffett one of my heroes. I have a few heroes in life. Mr. So Chin Hing, my financial mentor, is one of them as well. I have life mentors, and I've also have people I look up to a lot in life. And I really want to emphasize to everybody who you choose as a hero, okay, might inspire what you become. I think he also say this and talk about the US toxic financial culture that there is a lot of competition over how salaries were published and drive a lot of envy. And he just want to remind everybody that envy and greed walks hand in hand. And what drives unhappiness is comparison, right? So he earns a humble salary. Of course, his wealth is tremendous, but I think it's very important to be reminded that what makes you unhappy is generally when you compare yourself to the others, right? So, I mean, if I were to say that if I compare myself to a lot of rich people, I'll be very unhappy. But I'm actually quite happy with life for a very long time, really, even when I was in my 30s. I think he emphasized this one phrase, which I thought was quite interesting. He says that greatness does not come from wealth or power, and he says a lot that about when you help someone in any of the thousands of ways you help the world. I I think his emphasis is whether you talk to the chairman or talk to the cleaning lady. You should be at the same spirit and same attitude. And I thought that was quite interesting. We certainly take a lot of seriousness and pride when we talk to someone important, and we talk to maybe the cleaner. We don't regard them with equal respect. I think that's likely most people, and I do suffer from that as well. And I want to be reminded that this is a great man, and he emphasized that really is about helping and touching people's lives. I spent 10 years doing that in my 1865 journey. I wish I started much earlier, and I certainly want to commit myself to do that for the next 50 years of my life. And of course, Warren Buffett is the cornerstone of humility, kindness, and an incredible leadership in terms of servant leadership. His humility compounds faster than money. Well, he inspired a lot of people. Millions and millions of people are touched because of him. I'm just one of the small example, and I think it's important that this humility continue to flow on. For example, when I make it a point that when I run the courses, some of my courses runs in 600 people. I try my best to shake everybody's hands and look everybody in the eye and thank them for coming and thank them for this friendship. Although I may not know everybody personally, but I felt that I'm still very far away from people like him. He touched even more lives in a bigger way. I wish I could do better, and I work my life to do much better than that. Interestingly, he says that in his final newsletter that looking back, I feel that both Berkshire and I did better because our base in Omaha. Now, some of y'all may not realize Omaha is just farmland, unexciting places and things like that. I think the key thing he emphasized is because it's away from Wall Street's noise and is grounded by Midwest cultural values, and he doesn't face in doesn't fit, comes face to face with many of the toxic culture of Wall Street and things like that. I think the learning lesson out of this is that there are times that we need to stay away from toxic environment. Okay. When I was in corporate life, whoa, people were comparing wealth, comparing status, comparing achievement, comparing whatever, right? But once I became entrepreneur, I spent 3 years driving around delivering parcels and packages and things like that. I think I felt liberated. Right, those toxic environment went away, and until this day, I still feel that it's a very nice experience to stay away from toxic corporate environment. And some of y'all may have toxic, friendships around you or acquaintance or companies. You might want to think twice about this. It's a great inspiration to inspire us in this aspect. So the lesson for many of us, especially in Singapore, and some of you are in Malaysia as well, is that there is such a thing called wealth without ego. I think in Singapore, this part, many of Singaporeans generally live quite well in this aspect. In Malaysia, the minute you have wealth, oh my goodness, man, 9.9 out of 10 will try to flaunt it. And that's something that maybe it's just me and the people I encounter. But I would say that all of us should stay humble regardless of where we stand in society and life. Remember that compounding, is a powerful machine to build wealth. 18% will make you a Warren Buffett. So even if a humble 10 is still very amazing. Okay. So, and of course, legacy of giving, not just giving away wealth, but giving away your time, your spirit, your humility, and even your handshake, and and uh, and a gratitude and a smile. I think that would be very touching to many people. So all of us can certainly build something that lasts like him. So it's very sad to hear that Warren Buffett is stepping away and fading away in his way. We respect that. But certainly his legacy will live on, and I certainly would want to carry on his legacy. Thank you. Just a simple note, and I'll see you in the live stream. Bye bye.